Midnight Horizon turned out to be one of the sleeper hits of the first phase of the High Republic. It had all the makings of a great Star Wars book. Awesome Jedi, great action, highly developed characters, and connections to Solo, a Star Wars story? Yeah, you heard that correctly. It's safe to say that a lot happened in this book, but we're here to help you sort through it all. Hey everyone, my name is Emma Park. I'm a content creator here at Youtini, and today I'll be recapping what happened in Midnight Horizon by Daniel José Older, courtesy of the Roundtable Master himself, Charles Hankel. Be warned, there are full spoilers ahead, and they are major ones at that, so if you haven't read it yet, do yourself a favor and come back when you're done. You don't want to miss this masterfully crafted plot. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. We open this book on a young Cantum Sai, Padawan of Master Yoda, who must shoulder high expectations. Yet on a routine visit to the planet Endovar, Cantum meets a circus performer named Atar and feels an instant connection. The two spend a night flirting, and Cantum realizes that, despite being so far ahead of their peers, Yoda has not yet knighted them because he sensed something like this might happen. Cantum and Atar's connection soon blossoms into a true relationship, and Cantum knows they must inform Yoda. After one last sparring session, Cantum lays their lightsaber at Yoda's feet and walks away from the Jedi Order. However, Atar struggles to accept the pressure of that decision and breaks things off. Now without any ties, Cantum spends the next few years traveling the galaxy and working various jobs. While on Naboo, they discover a young Force-sensitive orphan, none other than Lula Talisola. Feeling called back to the Order, Cantum delivers Lula to Yoda on Endovar. Upon their return, Cantum is knighted, and Yoda lectures them on a master's role of learning from their Padawan. Years later, on the planet Corellia, a Grindolid bodyguard named Pribolt is troubled when his client, Nomar Tralmat, hasn't returned from a meeting. Against instructions, he interrupts the meeting and finds his client being beaten by a group of Nihil. The Nihil kill Pribolt, though not before he can send a holo reporting his findings, and the client disappears. On Starlight Beacon, Ram Jamaran struggles with a sense of emptiness brought on by all the horrors he's had to witness at the hands of the Nihil. Before he can contemplate this too much, he's whisked away to a mission briefing by Lula Talisola and Zine Morala. At the meeting, the Jedi are shown the holo of Pribolt's death and are asked by Coronet City's Minister Fenderfall to come investigate. Cantum Sai, Zine, and Ram all agree to go. Meanwhile, Reath Silas's life is nothing like he expected. Rather than a studious Jedi academic buried in the archives on Coruscant, he's made a new home out on the frontier, fighting alongside the other Jedi of Starlight Beacon. Despite being confident in what brought him there, he can't see a clear path moving forward. Though he needs guidance, he can't bring himself to confide in his master, Comac Vitus, who also seems troubled. Fortunately, they're both offered a distraction when they're asked to join the mission to Corellia. Alice Crash Angwa and her crew from the Supreme Coronet City Diplomat Protection are still reeling from the loss of their agent Pribolt. To regain their reputation in the public eye, they thwart a staged attack on a local pop star and friend of Crash named Sphino. Shortly thereafter, Crash is visited by Mother Fastidima, the head of the Grindolid clan of which Pribolt was a member, and is told that she has 3 days to find Pribolt's killer, or else she will have to pay the price. Back on Starlight, Reath stumbles upon Comac tearfully communicating with the Jedi Wayseeker Orla Jareni. Comac reveals that he's been struggling with an intense sadness, the source of which is unclear, and Orla has been helping him meditate on it. Reath decides he can't further burden his master by bringing up his own uncertainties. Speaking of meditating, Zine and Lula are meditating together, unsure about their next steps. Zine is to go to Corellia, although she yearns to remain with Lula, who's been tapped to lead the task force in charge of finding Crix, who's Zine's ex-childhood friend turned Nihil. As everyone prepares to leave, intelligence comes through revealing the location of Crix's hideout. Zine goes with Lula to join the assault on Crix's base. The remainder of the Jedi head to Corellia. On Gus Talon, one of Corellia's moons, a labor dispute has broken out and turned violent. A Nihil named Sabata Krill is in charge of ensuring the dispute pulls as many Jedi and law enforcement officers from Corellia as possible. Crash arrives at the Coronet City Jedi Temple and meets Ram and Reath, who she immediately employs to help with her investigation. As a show of good faith, she sneaks them into the local shipyards to see the construction of the Republic's new Purrgil-class cruisers, the exact model of the Halcyon, and introduces them to Shug Drabor, the architect behind the ships. While there, they also inspect a mysterious ancient fighter called an Eviscerator. That evening, a meeting is held by the upper crust of Coronet City, including the City Fathers, the recognized leaders of the most important operations within the city, and Minister Fenderfall. Crash's crew is also there, acting as bodyguards for some of the attendees. Crash attempts to get the patrons drunk so that someone might slip some information about what happened to Pribolt. Another rival bodyguard, Discaro, reveals that his firm has taken over security duties for the upcoming finance ball. Distraught, Crash punches Ovis, one of the city fathers, when he makes an inappropriate joke about Pribolt's death. A massive fight breaks out. Elsewhere, Zine, Lula, Court, and Farzala lay siege to Crix's stronghold and manage to capture him. Despite this victory, Zine struggles with the thought of something bad happening to her friends. She reflects on growing up and trying to suppress her Force abilities before finally confronting Crix in the brig. She's able to trick him into revealing that something important is happening on Gus Talon. Armed with new information, she heads to Corellia to assist. But just before leaving, she's finally able to put a name to her feelings towards Lula: love. She departs the ship, leaving Lula to transport Crix back to Starlight Beacon. After the fallout of assaulting a city father and losing out on a contract to Discaro, Crash has to find a new way to get her crew into the finance ball. She decides to create an irresistible new entertainment act. Having grown to trust the Jedi, Crash reveals the full video of Pribolt's death, which shows Sabata Krill following him down the alley. The Jedi begin to realize the extent of the Nihil's involvement on Corellia. They agree to Crash's plan and offer up the newly arrived Zine to pose as a fake pop star by the name of Ms. Z. Crash is able to use her media contacts to spread word about Ms. Z and get her hired overnight. Cantum and Comac are alerted to a potential hostage situation by Minister Fenderfall and leave immediately to investigate. Once there, they both sense a terrible disturbance in the Force and realize it has something to do with Starlight Beacon. They discover the Nihil amassing a force at the local police barracks and manage to stow away aboard one of their transports as it heads off to wreak unknown havoc. Cantum grows worried as he senses Comac becoming more and more unbalanced. Crash and her crew make final preparations at the site of the finance ball, but they're stunned when the organizer reveals that the party is a Nihil-themed masquerade ball. Suddenly, as the doors open, masses of people sporting Nihil masks flood the event space. In the midst of the party, whispers begin to spread about something happening to Starlight Beacon. The Holo News is pulled up and shows Starlight burning. The Jedi struggle to maintain balance as they watch their home destroyed. Crash and Discaro meet in private and realize that one of their clients must be working with the Nihil. Discaro is alerted that Ovis requires the room for a meeting, so Crash hides before Ovis arrives. He's joined shortly after by another being who emerges from a hidden door. The two argue over the Nihil activity on Corellia, with Ovis claiming he only agreed to small Nihil strikes, and the other man claiming responsibility for getting Ovis his position as a city father. The mysterious figure storms out to the main party, addresses the crowd, and removes his mask to reveal he is actually Nomar Traumat. He praises the Nihil and urges the others to align with him. When Ovis speaks out against him, Traumat pulls a blaster and fires at him, but Discaro dives in front of Ovis, taking the blaster bolts instead. He dies instantly. Absolute chaos erupts at the ball. Nihil reveal themselves and hurry to get Traumat out. They escape through the window and flee across the rooftops. Reath, Ram, and Zine give chase. They follow the Nihil all the way to the finance tower, where they then witness a gigantic Nihil troop transport preparing to take off. Reath barely manages to get on board before it sails into the night. Crash is sickened by the fact that she has been protecting people who are involved in so much evil. She dissolves her company on the spot, denounces her duties as bodyguard, and hurries off to pursue Traumat. She meets up with Zine as they follow a group of Nihil into the underground tunnels. On the way, Crash puts out a distress call on all comm channels about the Nihil invasion and requests that anyone on Corellia who can fight to come and assist. The Nihil transport with Cantum and Comac aboard arrives at the Corellian shipyards and lands. Cantum realizes that the Nihil don't want to destroy the ships, but rather to commandeer them and fly them to Starlight Beacon disguised as the Republic aid. Ram also arrives at the shipyards and alerts Shug Draebor to the Nihil's plans. Draebor and his crew of Van Zellens start dismantling the flight controls of the ships as quickly as they can. The Nihil and the Corellians all converge on the ships, and a massive battle ensues. Comac and Cantum emerge from hiding and carve a path through the Nihil forces. As they're about to be overwhelmed, Reath leaps from atop his Nihil transport and lands on the battlefield to join them. Elsewhere, Grindelwald's ambush Crash in the tunnels. She informs them that she has almost caught Pribolt's killer and suspects that it was Traumat. The Grindelwalds agree to help by allowing Crash and Zine to ride on their backs through the water to catch up to the Nihil. The Jedi and Corellians valiantly defend the ships, but are greatly outnumbered. Reath is seriously injured and nearly killed, but just as he's overrun, Shug Draebor appears in a mechanized load lifter to save him. Ram arrives and helps Reith onto a ship where he hides him in a cargo hold with some back-to-packs. As the Republic forces dwindle, Cantum orders the ships be destroyed rather than let the Nihil have them. The Corellians gather at Cantum and Comac's location. Despite their efforts, they suddenly hear a ship taking off and realize they're too late. Ram hurries to the Eviscerator and takes off after the stolen Longbeam. He's able to destroy the Longbeam's hyperspace engine, but in the time it takes, one of the Purrgil-class cruisers also takes off. Reith wakes up in the cargo hold and can feel the ship underneath him moving. He stumbles to the bridge and finds Sabata Krill and a group of Nihil. He realizes that he's aboard the stolen Purrgil-class cruiser. Ram calms him and tells him to leave the ship immediately. Ram then bursts through the cruiser in the Eviscerator just as Reith jettisons himself out of an airlock. Ram rescues Reith from his freefall and they both return to the planet's surface. Meanwhile, Crash finally catches up to Traumat in the tunnels. He admits to working with the Nihil, which led to Pribolt's death. As soon as he does, Mother Fastidima rises from the depths and bites his head off. Her children attack and rip up the rest of the traitor's body. Cantum, Comac, and the Corellian defenders make a final push against the Nihil, knowing they're likely to die. When yet another ship takes off, Cantum grabs it with the Force. Despite their best efforts, it's about to slip away until it suddenly becomes weightless. Searching for the source of their newfound power, they spy a hooded Master Yoda emerging from the Nihil warcloud. Yoda rips the ship out of the sky and launches an offensive against the Nihil, single-handedly turning the tide of battle. The Nihil scatter. With Corellia safe for the time being, everyone gathers at Crash's childhood home. The Jedi all sense the exact moment of Starlight's destruction and all of the death that comes along with it. Despite that galaxy-shifting incident, there's still room for celebration as Reith is officially knighted. But immediately afterwards, Comac announces that he's leaving the Jedi Order. Zine vows to find Lula, even though she's among those who are aboard Starlight, listed as missing and presumed dead. Crash and her crew announce their intent to stay on Corellia and fight against Ovis, who's trying to consolidate power in the wake of the Nihil's exodus. Yoda orders all Jedi to return to Coruscant to regroup. He claims to have found evidence of a new threat to the galaxy, a threat that may prove to be the end of the Jedi. That'll do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed our recap of what happened in Midnight Horizon by Daniel José Older, and we hope you found it helpful. If you'd like to catch the roundtable episodes on this book, check out the links in the description for episodes 154 and 155 of the Living Force podcast, which you can catch live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Youtini or on your favorite podcatchers. Also check out the link to our review by Eric Eilerson, also in the description. Visit us online at youtini.com for reviews, articles, timelines, and book profiles for every single story in the Star Wars galaxy. And if you'd like to help us out more directly, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Youtini. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.